News.
Britain's news channel.
Westminster, the ultimate clique.
And you're fighting like rats in a sack.
But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask.
OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician.
Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off limits.
You had the power then.
Yeah, as I
and
say,
now you've lost it.
That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless.
But no, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show.
Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
We love Great Britain. We love its history, its culture and its tradition, and that's why we're so proud to be part of GB News.
You look genuinely emotional. Oh, come here.
GB News does pay attention to those who are ignored by the mainstream media. The majority of this country whose forefathers fought and died to maintain liberty, to fight for freedom of speech.
The rule of law, the rights of property and democracy. This is the heritage that our country should be so proud of.
Which of course includes our Christian heritage. There's been a huge resurgence in the number of people going to church. Perhaps they're not finding what they're looking for, and they're looking for something a bit deeper, a bit more truthful, a bit more akin to Britain's Christian heritage.
That's right, get ready, because the most exciting night in general election history starts now!
Thank you for joining me live from a very snowy Washington, D.C. This is GB News with the story shaping Britain and America.
This individual who came with weapons and ammunition to stop a law enforcement operation of federal law enforcement officers committed an act of domestic terrorism. That's the facts.
It's the biggest story in America right now, the fallout following a nurse, Alex Pretty, allegedly shot dead by ICE officials. Well, just moments ago, President Trump has posted about it online, laying the blame with the Democrats. We'll have all the reaction and analysis with some top guests. Also back in the UK.
Andy Burnham is doing an excellent job as Mayor of Manchester. We work very closely together.
This is huge. A row has broken out in the Labour Party after Sir Keir Starmer was accused of blocking Manchester Mayor Andy Burnham from running in an upcoming by-election. He is quite clearly furious and made it known on social media. I'll bring you that with a top Labour guest. But back here in America. I'm going to put this... The other massive story here today is the weather. Americans have been told to stay at home, but some locals this afternoon were making the most of it. We've been out to meet them. Also,
I look down on him because I am upper class. I look up to him because he is upper class. But I look down on him because he is lower class. I am middle class. I know my place.
has anything changed since 1966 when that famous sketch was first broadcast? It still feels as relevant today, doesn't it? But some people are now suggesting that class should be a protected characteristic like race. Do you agree? I'm Bev Turner. This is The Late Show Live. Joining me this evening in Washington, my panel, Senior Border Security and Immigration Specialist Simon Hankinson. Evening, Simon. And broadcaster and journalist Angelina McAhey. And in London is comedian Paul Cox. Thank you all for joining me this evening. I've got to ask you both, you Americans, how did you get here tonight, Simon? Because it is impossible out there.
I walked. I put my good boots on and I just humped over the snow.
And Angelina?
Yeah, I trudged through the snow in my boots as well.
It is. Just give our audience an idea of what it's like out there tonight.
It's brutal. This is the biggest snowstorm of the year. It's kind of a sleety, horrible snow that turns to gush as soon as it hits the ground. I've seen cars spinning, trucks blocking roads, people driving who shouldn't be, and slipping and falling and having a great time.
Yeah, and Paul Cox, you're there in the cosy confines of our London studio. You wouldn't even make it out the door, mate. I don't think you're tough enough for these conditions.
I don't think I would either. I am surprised, though. At DC, this is not... Snow comes every year. I'm surprised they haven't mandated snow tyres and all that sort of stuff. But, hey, what do I know?
Yeah. Angelina, I was surprised to see that it wasn't cleared more quickly today. Like, it is still out there. Does the city manage to get on top of it in, what, 24 hours we'll see it clearer?
I would say probably closer to 2 to 3 days. Look, in DC, we probably have about one big snowstorm a year, if that, where the city just chooses to completely shut down rather than invest in the required equipment to deal with the immense amount of snow that's coming down. We're not like Chicago. We're not like Boston, where you see that these type of snowstorms happen more regularly. These are really one-off situations. So again, to expect the city to invest those resources, I think that would also be a waste of time and money.
Yeah, interesting. Well, we're toughing it out here. Thank you all. We will be coming back to you, Paul, as well very shortly. But let's go now to our top British story tonight. This is Andy Burnham, who's hit out at the Labour Party after members of the National Executive Committee, the governing body of the party, basically, which includes the Prime Minister, voted to deny Andy Burnham permission to stand in that Gorton and Denton by-election that's coming up. They were citing the impact on party resources. Now, Andy Burnham criticised the news being leaked to the press before he was informed. He said, "It tells you everything you need to know about the way the Labour Party is being run these days." Let's talk now to former Labour Party advisor Paul Richards. Paul, thank you so much for joining me on The Late Show live this evening. So what did you make of Andy Burnham's statement, Paul? He's not really done the Prime Minister any favours there, has he?
Well, I know that he's disappointed that he wasn't allowed to desert the job that he'd been elected to do, which has been Mayor of Greater Manchester, and then go down to Westminster. But the committee was 10 people. 8 of them voted to block him. One said no, he should go forward. That was his great mate, Lucy Powell. And then the chair, Shabana Mahmood, abstained because she was in the chair. So it was an overwhelming decision. And they looked at this and said, well, do we want a by-election for the mayoralty of Manchester at this moment, with the Labour candidate having deserted the people of Manchester, and hand Manchester to another party? And let's face it, that might well have been Reform. So they said, no, we don't. And I fully support that decision. So, yes, Andy's disappointed, but there we are. He's already got a job and he's doing very well, and now he's going to carry on doing it.
Andy Burnham left Westminster when Jeremy Corbyn became leader of the party, didn't he? And he said, you know, I'm going to head up to Manchester, I'm going to lead the mayoralty race there. And he won, and he's really popular. People like him enormously. But he always has and had ambitions, didn't he, Paul, to be the leader of the Labour Party and therefore Prime Minister. That hasn't gone away. Do you think he was on manoeuvres wanting to become an MP?
I do, and it's not as though it's a secret. I mean, he stood for the Labour leadership in 2010, came fourth. He stood for the Labour leadership in 2015, got beaten by Jeremy Corbyn, and then having been beaten by Jeremy Corbyn, he left his seat and went off to Manchester to be the mayor. So, yes, he obviously, he thinks very, very highly of himself. Obviously, he believes he should be the Prime Minister, but the NEC decided otherwise. And the thing about his popularity is, I mean, he is popular in Manchester. I was there last weekend watching Manchester United, and you know, the city is booming, it's growing, the transport system works. He's got a lot of popularity for what he's done as mayor. But that's very different from then saying, right, I want to be an MP now, and saying to a bunch of local people in the Manchester seat of Denton and Gorton, I want to be MP now so I can go and be Prime Minister in London. And I think his popularity will evaporate like the snow if it was the case, because suddenly you're treating the electorate as fools, and you're just basically saying, I want you to vote for me. I can manipulate your support in order to disappear back down to Westminster. I think, to be fair, Andy has had his chance. He stood twice. The party's rejected him twice, so he obviously thought third time's a charm. But on this occasion, not his moment.
Do you think he never will be given that opportunity then, Paul?
Well, I mean, there is a day when Keir Starmer won't be the leader of the Labour Party. Some people are trying to hasten that day, but, it will come at some point in the future. And then there'll be a leadership contest. And, and he might want to stand for Parliament next time round when he's expanded his term of Mayor of Manchester. He may find himself being selected for a seat then. So it's not saying never, this decision this morning. It's just saying, look, not now, when we're going to trigger a really tough by-election for the mayoralty. And also, I mean, again, being candid with you, the parliamentary by-election, the one triggered by the resignation of Andrew Gwynn, that's going to be quite tough for Labour to win. Labour Party lost the Runcorn by-election to Reform a few months ago, and Reform are obviously insurgent and resurgent, and it's mid-term, so governments tend to lose by-elections mid-term. So, for all of these reasons, I just really do think the National Executive members, whose job it is to look after the party's best interests and the money, don't forget it would have cost millions to have a by-election for the mayoralty, just said, yeah, okay, thanks for your interest, but not this time, thank you so much. And and I support that.
OK, Paul, thank you. Clearly explained. Former Labour Party advisor Paul Richards there. Let me know what you think at home. I think Andy Burnham knows how deeply unpopular Keir Starmer is, and probably thought if he's going to do anything to save the Labour Party running up to the next election, he needs to be at the head of it. And I probably don't disagree with him. Right, our other top story tonight is the fallout after nurse Alex Pretty was shot by an immigration officer in Minneapolis. This was the moment that the world is talking about. Now, Pretty can be seen filming as a federal agent pushes away one woman. He then moves between them, as you can see. He gets pepper sprayed. The woman raises his left arm to shield himself from that pepper spray. Several agents then take hold of Pretty. This struggle ensues. Multiple agents wrestle him to the ground, and resulting in him being shot. But it's this moment that is most contentious, because the footage appears to show one of the agents removing a gun from Pretty and then stepping away from the group with it. So knowing that he didn't have the gun on his person, and that is just before he is shot, which is incredibly damning for particularly the agent who did shoot him dead. So his parents have called their son a nurse who cared for American veterans, a kind-hearted soul. They said in a statement, "We are heartbroken, but we are also very angry." They added that lies being told by the Trump administration are sickening, reprehensible and disgusting. Tonight, Minnesota Governor Tim Walz has reiterated his call for the ICE agents to pull out of Minneapolis. And he's also made this bizarre comparison to the situation in his area. Have a listen.
We have got children in Minnesota hiding in their houses, afraid to go outside. Many of us grew up reading that story of Anne Frank. Somebody's going to write that children's story about Minnesota. And there's one person who can end this now.
Do you agree with that comparison? I find it frankly bizarre. President Trump has come out swinging. They said that Alex Pretty was carrying a gun and he assaulted officers. And here was United States Secretary of Homeland Security Kristi Noem earlier.
This individual who came with weapons and ammunition to stop a law enforcement operation of federal law enforcement officers committed an act of domestic terrorism. That's the facts.
So that was Kristi Noem speaking yesterday, but in the last few moments, President Trump has spoken out. He's blamed the shooting of Alex Pretty and Renee Good, who was shot dead in the same state 2 weeks ago. He said in actually a very unusually formatted post for President Trump. He said, as a result of this Democrat-ensued chaos, these people lost their lives. He went on to call the leaders of Minnesota to cooperate with the administration rather than resist and stoke the flames of division, chaos and violence. Let's get more with Newsmax presenter Bianca Della Garza now. Bianca, what a pleasure to talk to you again, but it's a shame it's under such awful circumstances. I've changed my position slightly on this than how I felt yesterday. I tried not to rush to a conclusion because I think it's really easy to do so, and everybody wants to pile in on these stories and weaponise them and politicise them. What's your opinion on the death, particularly of this man, now that we've seen this footage in slow motion and in all its detail?
Well, first off, Bev, always a pleasure to be with you and your viewers. I think tomorrow, as many will be waking up across the pond and here, there will be even more layers to this story. So as you showed that video, I'm glad you also put the clip of Tim Walz, who clearly is seizing on this. What he said about Anne Frank, many are already saying is not the right tone, insult to Holocaust survivors. So we leave the political aside. And I think some of the officials who have come out today in some of the Sunday morning programs, you know, Todd Blanche, #2 at the DOJ, was pretty measured, I think, because you do look at that video and there are many questions about the timing of all of this. But he said, like, you can't look at 10-second video and make a judgment exactly on what happened. There obviously is a huge investigation that has to be carried out. And we know from Gregory Bovino that the officers will be taken out of Minnesota and be put most likely on administrative leave. Kash Patel, the head of the FBI, Bev, saying today, you do not get to attack law enforcement in this country without repercussions. Of course, the question is, was it the life of Alex Preddy that had to be lost by attacking law enforcement? Bovino also saying the suspect put himself in that situation. And if we may just kind of go down that road, there's been some troubling information coming out as late of just an hour ago that the Lieutenant Governor, Peggy Flanagan, may have been participating in this Signal chat, Bev, which is telling people where ICE agents are. So she also said, put your bodies on the line. So if there is a sense of bringing down the temperature, we certainly haven't seen it with some of the officials. Now, I think that this is a tragedy, and I think here in America, we are going to see this, just as we saw with the shooting of Renee Good, be a real moment here and an inflection point that we cannot underscore, because even if it comes out that this officer felt that he feared for his life, the credibility of ICE and the credibility is now called into question. But we cannot forget that these people on the streets are organized. There are food drops, they're radio command. They're actually going after regular people saying, who are you? Are you with ICE? And putting regular citizens who are just driving down the streets, they're stopping them and asking them for information. And with gatherings now happening in Chicago amid a blizzard, a huge storm there, and an autonomous zone in Minnesota, Bev, it does feel a little reminiscent of George Floyd again. And it does feel that there is, of course, as you know, agents of chaos who have descended on the city, and yet another American caught in the fray. His name, Alex Preddy.
And a lot of people are starting to speculate, Bianca, what the implications might be for the midterm elections, because they see President Trump as the lieutenant to these troops on the ground, which is perhaps accurate in some degree. But also, my feeling is that that was one man who shot that one man. And to extrapolate the ambitions of ICE, which are precisely what President Trump was voted into office to do, which is to get illegal migrants who've committed crimes out of the country. How does he manage that going forward? It's very difficult for the president and also the entire administration to get the balance between those two ambitions right as they run up to the midterms.
I think you're right, and I think you're making an excellent point. And even before the shooting of Renee Good, Bev, there was some internal polling that the White House was privy to that said perhaps the immigration message was not favorable to the midterms. I think now sitting here, if you ask me, you know, around after midnight, January 26, and you and I are talking, I think there's a ways to go. I think we've already heard Democrats who are now going to say they potentially could shut down the government. They don't want to fund ICE. Amy Klobuchar, who is running, as you know, to replace Tim Walz to be the governor of Minnesota after he announced he would not be running, has come out slamming ICE today, saying they don't have the training. So the Capitol Hill swamp will use this as a cudgel for the midterms. I don't know. I think it's too early to say how much it will be a breaking point or a win or a loss for the right. I think that part of what we're seeing here is high emotion, a lot of disingenuous media when it came to the 5-year-old boy. And I think everyone needs to take a beat. There are other things that people vote on, obviously, just like where you live, and it's kitchen table issues. And if it comes to light that massive fraud ripped off $19 billion of taxpayers' money, are they going to weigh that against getting them out in not just Minnesota, but other states? It might not be as disastrous as the Democrats are really hoping for. And I think it's sad that they actually want to make this something, such a weapon, because there were hundreds of thousands of children that went missing under Joe Biden's open border. So if they care about people and humanity, the most innocent people and children who were trafficked across the border, there was zero empathy for them.
Yeah, absolutely. Bianca, thank you so much. Fascinating insight, as always. Newsmax presenter Bianca De La Garza there. Let's talk now to former advisor to Barack Obama, Spencer Critchley, about this. Spencer, thank you for joining Late Show Live on a Sunday night. Really appreciate it. So how does President Trump handle this now going forward? Because I think there is probably a difference between the killing of Nicole Good, who was sat behind the wheel of a car, who apparently was using that car as a vehicle, allegedly, and this guy who had nothing more than a mobile phone in his hand.
First of all, I just want to emphasize I was an advisor to both Obama campaigns, but not to President Obama himself personally. I just don't like to hype my credentials. How Trump handles this, I think, is the least of our concerns right now. And I think it's very important not to normalize and legitimize the situation in the United States by pretending this is some kind of normal continuation of left versus right politics, where the left has its narrative and the right has its narrative, and voters are left to try to judge who's telling something closer to the truth. This is not a political left versus political right issue. This is a pro-democracy versus anti-democracy issue. And I think what we're seeing here in Minneapolis is just the latest instantiation of that conflict. And that's why there are so many Republicans of conscience who have spent their lives supporting conservative Republican causes, often people who are very far to the right, and who are vehemently opposed to Donald Trump for precisely this kind of reason. So I think if we discuss this in terms of political tactics, we're almost dignifying it. And this is without prejudging the results of any investigation, whether of the Renee Good shooting or the Alex Preddy shooting, much as I think that the evidence we have looks terrible. But even without prejudging it, the flagrant Orwellian lies that have been coming out of the administration are all too typical of what I believe actually amounts to an attack on democracy.
But if you're talking about democracy, President Trump was voted in very much in order to stop illegal migration on the southern border. And seeing these images of illegal migrants who have committed crimes being seized and deported is a very powerful deterrent, and so powerful that he has solved that issue on the southern border. And trust me, as a Brit, we look with some admiration of being able to know exactly who is and who is not coming into your country. That's something that we aspire to in the UK. So how is it not democratic to support a government who wants to deport people who shouldn't be here, who've committed crime?
No, it's entirely legitimate for people to vote their beliefs on immigration, and some people will be in favor of stricter enforcement, and some people will be in favor of more liberal enforcement. That's not at all the issue here. Donald Trump is turning ICE, the grossly badly trained and apparently now deliberately recruited to fit a certain profile ICE agents, turning them into his own private police force. So what they're doing has nothing to do with legitimate border enforcement. To have the Border Patrol, for example, working within the interior of the country violates its mission, and they are not trained for that mission, and we see the results of that lack of training every day. They have no skills, apparently, in policing, and yet they're out there trying to police America's streets. Again, to set some context here, of course people are free to vote for the candidate they prefer, and I might dislike everything that candidate stands for, but if he wins elections as Donald Trump did, that's part of the price of living in a democracy and having freedom to vote yourself for candidates you prefer. But we also have seen again and again democracies brought to an end after a legitimate democratic election, which turns out to be the last fair election. And another way we lose context with this is we overlooked the, giant asteroid approaching Earth-sized problem that Donald Trump attempted to overthrow the election last time. And people just sort of move on, or many people do, as if that's the kind of stuff that happens in politics. Trying to bring our democracy to an end is not the kind of thing that happens in normal politics. And so once somebody tries to do something like that, and Trump did it over a period of many months from multiple directions, it wasn't just January 6th, that was just the culmination, and he continues to try to do it. Every time he tells the lie about how he supposedly won the 2020 election, for example. That cannot be ignored. That is not, I don't like his policies.
Yeah.
That's, I like democracy, and I don't like people who are trying to tear it down.
Okay, Spencer, thank you so much. Former advisor to Obama campaigns, Spencer Critchley there. Thank you for joining me this evening. I can see my panel taking notes. They've clearly got a lot to say, but we're going to take a very quick break. Don't go anywhere. This is The Late Show live only on GB News.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, you didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
no,
Because the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m, only on GB News.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK, we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News, the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
So my question is, what's the plan, Donald Trump? What is the plan? What do we need to do to get these federal agents out of our state?
Let me bring you some breaking news right now on this Minneapolis story after the ICU nurse was shot dead by ICE agents. In the last few minutes, we're learning that the Wall Street Journal has spoken to President Trump today, and they have published an interview with him saying that his administration is reviewing everything and will come out with a determination. Reviewing everything and will come out with a determination. He's also signalled a willingness to eventually withdraw immigration enforcement officials from the Minneapolis area. He said, at some point, we will leave. They've done a phenomenal job. We'll leave a different group of people there for the financial fraud. Let me talk to my panel here about this. So when he's talking there about the financial fraud, Simon, he's referring to the fact that in Minneapolis, in the state of Minnesota, there are a large number of Somali immigrants, about 50,000, 50 to 80,000, I believe. And they have been identified as playing a part in some major taxpayer fraud, with 90 being charged so far. Some would say that President Trump is just distracting there from the issue that surrounds the ICE agents and the controversy. Is he doing that?
Well, others would say that the governor and the mayor of Minneapolis and the governor of the state are trying to distract from the fraud by focusing on the ICE issues. So politics does play a role. But look, we can't let the fact that these people happen to be Somali detract from the fact that they were pulling huge scams and stealing billions of dollars. That should still be prosecuted, whether they were Somali or, French or from any other place.
Yeah. Angelina, what do you make of this situation this evening as we sit here? This is really bad for President Trump. This killing in particular is worse, I think, than the first. Is that how you see it?
I mean, most definitely. I'm seeing a lot of different Nick Shirley types. I'm not going to say Nick Shirley directly, but these independent journalists who go just as viral. I saw one clip today where he was like, you know what, in the case of Renee Good, I side with ICE, but in this, I see it with my eyes. Like, you can't tell me that that was a justified shooting. And I was actually taken back to hear that from these type of influencers. So you're seeing a shift too in that. Trump did take a change in his narrative, saying that there will be a full investigation, which I think is good. It's been bad for him to really just defend, I think, Kristi Noem here. He's making a mistake politically. There really does need to be a transparent investigation. Like, everybody saw this video. Don't gaslight us. Yeah. Don't tell us what we didn't see, right? So I think, I think that Trump really should be holding Kristi Noem a bit more accountable.
Yeah, I think I agree, Paul Cox. How about you? I mean, I know this is a big American story, but I'm sure it's made the headlines over in the UK because President Trump is, well, President Trump. And I think Angelina makes a really good point. In an effort to control the narrative, everybody from every side jumps to be the first person to air when these stories happened. It's happened yesterday. And a lot of people think, actually, if they'd seen the footage, maybe Kristi Noem wouldn't have come out and said what she said yesterday. She should have waited. And now the president's slightly having to row back on it. It's a mess.
I think associated to Donald Trump, obviously with the ICE thing as well, because here we've got a huge issue, and we are, many of us, envious of what Donald Trump has been able to achieve. However, our sensibilities as British people make it very squeamish for us to see some of the things that have gone on, particularly with regards to firearms. I mean, there's a couple of things there that blow my mind as a British guy, and that's, first of all, if there were 12 police officers coming at me with guns, I would not be fighting back. I'd be calling for my mum and asking for them just do whatever you need to do. I would not be bringing a gun to a protest. So there are a whole bunch of things going on there for me that could be sensibly debated. The upshot of this is there's 2 people dead. One of them, for what I can tell, in my personal opinion, used her car as a weapon. This guy had his gun taken away from him during the scuffle, and although he was putting up a fight, I'm not sure he needed to have multiple bullets put into him. Look, it's very difficult. I very much support Donald Trump and what he's trying to do with ICE. Just from a British perspective, I find it very difficult to come to terms with the way they're going about it. And they're going about it in the way that's relatively normal in the United States. It becomes incredibly political. I wouldn't want to get drawn straight away. I never make comment on this stuff, on X, I mean. And, you know, you're asking me to now, and of course I will. But I wouldn't just jump to anything, even if it seems incredibly obvious immediately. I always think there's a dead person there. We're not used to seeing dead people on TV either, by the way, in Britain. That's unusual for us. That stuff doesn't happen either, Bev.
OK, thank you, guys. A lot more to talk about, because I know it's raised the issue of gun control here in America as well, and we're going to be talking about that a little bit later. But the other big story in town today in America also involves ICE, but this time the cold version, because more than 200 million people across the United States are under severe weather warnings. Winter storm Fern has swept across the country. Residents in Washington, D.C. today, though, were very much making the most of it. There was heavy snowfall blanketing the whole area. Me and my cameraman, Ben, went down to Capitol Hill to join in the fun. This is Constitution Avenue at Capitol Hill. This would normally, on a Sunday afternoon, have cars going up and down it, people going to restaurants, out for lunch. There are just a few brave souls in very big vehicles, and also the snowplows doing their best up and down here. This storm has hit America in a way that we knew was going to happen, but I think it's worse than people imagined. 10,000 flights have now been cancelled in this area. There are power outages. There are obviously, everybody's being told to stay at home and don't come out unless you absolutely have to. It's incredible to see as a Brit. We never see weather anything like this. Lots of disruption, but some people are making the most of it. How cool is this?
This is awesome. I love this. I mean, I'm from Brazil. I don't see snow all the time, so this is just perfect.
We're very excited for the snow.
And you woke up this morning and went, yes, we're going out.
Exactly, yeah. We're excited to sled. Yeah, we've been planning all week to come and do this.
So some people like us Brits are just not dressed for this occasion. We've completely underestimated the weather. You look amazing. This is your full ski gear.
Yeah, and it says Canadian team because I'm Canadian. But I came from Vermont, so I'm prepared for the snow.
How much fun is this? It's great, isn't it?
It's incredible.
I love it. It's great. I'm going to have a go on your sledge in a minute. I would love to.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, go to Washington, they said. Be a hard-hitting news journalist, they said. I'm going to put this... Here we go. I like the fact that you're just making use of whatever you've got. So there's a little bodyboard here. Now I can surf. I can surf better than I can sledge, I think it's fair to say. Okay, Eleanor, hold my beer. There's been a lot of speculation about how much snow fell in the night in Washington. Some people said 5, some people said 12 inches. There's only one way to find out. Very scientific analysis with our bright pink ruler. So we found a bit of snow that hasn't been disturbed. So here we go. I can report here in DC, 6 inches of snow. And 6 inches is enough for a bit of fun. There's something lovely about being in the shadow of Capitol Hill, where important decisions are made, where serious conversations are had. That today, it's just about fun. There's no health and safety. Just come out here in the fresh air, get some exercise, and have a bit of good old-fashioned sledging fun. Brilliant. I love it. Oh, it was lovely to be out there today. It was brilliant. Seeing all those kids not looking at screens, it was wonderful. Right, still to come this evening on The Late Show Live. Do you think that social class should be a protected characteristic along with race or religion? Interesting. We'll debate that next. This is The Late Show Live, only on GB News.
I'm Michael Portillo. This is GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster, the ultimate clique.
And you're fighting like rats in a sack.
But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask.
OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician.
Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off limits.
You had the power then.
Yeah, as I
and
say,
now you've lost it.
That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless.
But no, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show.
Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
No matter the state it's in, this is our nation. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for a genuine, honest discussion on where we have been, where we are going, and where we are with the people who set the direction. Tune in to State of the Nation every Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Only on GB News.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversation.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pearce.
And me, Miriam Gates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up? About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m. weekdays here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I'm Stephen Dixon, and thanks for joining us on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to The Late Show Live. A lot of you messaging from home saying, I wish we had some snow like that in the UK. Well, yeah, but everything just stops working, doesn't it, in the UK? They are trying here to keep the show on the road, particularly the cars will hopefully be out in the next 48 hours or so. But moving on, a new report in the UK has called for social class to be a protected characteristic. So that would mean that it would shield individuals from discrimination, harassment and victimisation in the workplace, for example, because it would be class discrimination. So the report is by Class Ceiling, led by the University of Manchester, which looked into the arts sector and concluded that the industry is too posh and it's dominated, too posh and is not dominated at all by the working classes. So vote in our poll tonight. We'd love you to get involved with this. Should class be a protected characteristic? Yes or no? gbnews.com/you decide and /your say. If you go onto there, or get your phone out and look at the QR code there and you can vote in our poll. So let's talk this through now with political advisor Ryan Mark Parsons and lecturer in class and equality Dr. Lisa McKenzie. So Ryan, I was so pleased when they said it was you. So I was like, OK, he's our resident posho, so he will have an opinion on this. But if class becomes a protected characteristic, I won't be able to say that without you being able to possibly sue me. Is that right?
Well, exactly. Maybe you'll be getting a lawsuit if this ever came to fruition. And I just really think it's just utterly ridiculous. I just feel like opportunities in life, especially when it comes to jobs, I just think it should be based off merit. I think when we start considering things like class, I think you just enter a very complex situation where defining class is incredibly difficult as well. It's such an ambiguous term, whether you're perceived as working class, middle class, upper class. A lot of those definitions are incredibly ambiguous. A lot of it's social. Social behaviors define class. Is that going to be incorporated into the definition? It's not just always based off wealth.
Yes. Yeah, Lisa, I love this topic. I find it so interesting. But I think Ryan makes a really good point about the fact that how do you define which social class you sit in anymore? Is it whether you shop at Waitrose or Lidl? No, that doesn't work anymore. Is it about your education? Well, that can be ambiguous these days. Go on, Lisa. I'm dying to hear your take on this.
Well, I'm a sociologist and I'm a working class academic. So, for number one, I can tell you now that class discrimination is everywhere. And if you have ever worked in the arts, the creative industries, media, or in universities, if you are working class, moving through those spaces is like 1,000 paper cuts a day with the class discrimination that you face. So yes, there is class discrimination. And then the other point is, how do you define class? Well, there are lots of different ways that you can define class, but and then to some extent it is a fuzzy subject. However, that doesn't mean that we should just say it's too complicated, because it's not. I'll give you a quick sort of definition, a sociological definition. It's mainly things around 4 areas: economic, cultural, which includes education as well, social, your social networks, who you're connected to in your social networks, and then also symbolic, which is about status. So all of those 4 things together, if you put those 4 things together, if you've got lots of capital, what we call capital, for example, social capital, so if you are networked into lots of people who can help you along in your life, then you've got advantages. If you are not connected and networked into those groups, you have got disadvantages. So yes, it can seem fuzzy, but it doesn't mean it's not real. And I'd just like to say one other thing about class as well is we talk a lot about DEI, EDI, and what has happened over the last 20 years is there's been a tick box for everybody. And why I want class to be a protected characteristic, it's not class, it's actually low socioeconomic background. It's not class, it's working class. That's what we're looking at here. And so what I would say is, over the last 20 years, we have seen white working class people disadvantaged right across the board. And that is because if you are black and working class, you've got the black box to tick, and people can't discriminate against you because you're black. However, if you are white and working class, you can be discriminated against, and we are.
Well,
Ryan, come back in on that.
Well, what I would say to that is, when I've looked at applications, anecdotally speaking as well, when friends have filled out applications, they already have questions about equal opportunities, which go into your background, your family background, whether they attended university, etc. So that already does exist. And why I said it's complicated and you might make it more complex is, for example, what if a working class individual went to a private school, but it was fee assisted? They were able to access a bursary or scholarship. Unfortunately, that's actually gone up in the UK by 11.5%.
Well, you'd still be working class.
Yeah, but if you're defining it, no, but if you define it like you said, sorry, excuse me, you said in terms of education, so if that person happened to have gone to university, but their family are working class, but they had access to fee assistance where they could attend a private school, they go into that category of perhaps being perceived as middle class because they had a private education, but actually they're from a working class family. So then you're going to, on your basis, discriminate against those individuals as well?
No, that's not what I've said. What I've said is, with class, it's a combination of things, and sort of picking one area. Picking one area and saying, what if a person went to private education? Well, I'll give you some figures about that. Working class people are less likely to be in a private education or in a good state school or in a grammar school than any other group. White working class people are not there. So, you are picking... So you're picking out a example that doesn't really exist.
Well, like I said, it's been a 1.5 billion
to you both
increase
about
against
this
last year as well.
For
I think
ages,
you need to just have
I could
less
talk to you both about this for
mentality,
ages.
that's
We
what
barely
I'd say.
scratched the surface.
Yeah, but you can say that because you're
It's such
posh.
a fascinating topic.
Not at all.
But you can't
Not
say
at all.
that,
But
Lisa.
also that negative
we might sue you if this
attitude
becomes
works
law.
both ways.
No, the law is about low socioeconomic background, not class.
That nasty attitude works both ways. When I apply for jobs as well, and I'm fronted by someone like you doing the interview.
I wouldn't be doing the interview. You're more likely to be on the other side of the desk.
Right, both. Honestly, I really wish you were here. We could have talked about that for much longer. Thank you so much. Both perfect in that debate. Dr. Lisa McKenzie there and political advisor Ryan Mark Parson. Let me know what you think at home. And the results are in for our poll, asking you, should class be a protected characteristic? 33% of you have said yes, it should. And 66% of you have said no. It's actually, that's quite an unusual poll for us. They're often a lot more unequivocal than that. But thank you. And let me know why on the Your Say. Right, still to come this evening on The Late Show Live. We're going to unpack the biggest headlines on tomorrow's front pages. And we'll be talking to my panel a lot more as well. Stay with me.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact is Trump made a good start, no.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up? About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
No,
isn't it?
no,
Because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back,
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
and we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Jubes and Kerr weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to The Late Show Live. I'm going to discuss that topic that we were talking about just before the break with my panel now. In fact, the Your Say is getting involved in that. Catherine says, class shouldn't make any difference. It shouldn't be a protected characteristic. She said, just get on with it. Stop overthinking. This is 2025. It's actually 2026, Catherine, but you'd be forgiven for have forgotten that. We've moved on, luckily. Work hard, make your own opportunities. Class has nothing to do with it. It's such an interesting topic, this, Paul, because especially here in America, you just don't have the same sort of entrenched class hierarchy that we do in the UK. Should it be a protected characteristic? So you can't reference someone being posh or a chav, let's use that discriminatory word, in the workplace.
Yeah, great use of the word chav, Bev. Let's bring it back. What I would say is we should unprotect characteristics rather than adding the characteristics that we should carry on protecting. That, for me, is a journey that I don't want to go on. I don't know where I am in the class structure now. I come from a working class background, without a doubt, but I've spent most of my adult life in quite a middle class space and have built a middle-class network and friendship group. And now I work in media, of all things, as well. And that, I would say, is fairly middle-class. I mean, it's not for me to say. Maybe other people should judge me. I don't know. But I would like to unprotect it. Yeah. I would like to unprotect it because I don't think I don't want to be a protected characteristic. But I would like to see white working class boys looked after because they are at the bottom of every single group.
Angelina, what do you make of this? Because we just don't have, here in America, you don't have this same entrenched class system in the same way. The American dream is built on the idea that you can be anything.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like they're trying to censor in a way language to protect certain classes. I think that should be up to the individual institutions. I don't think the government should be getting involved in who labels who what.
Simon, what's your perception of this story?
It reminds me of the Monty Python 4 Yorkshiremen sketch.
Yeah.
You know, when I were allowed to get up 5 in the morning before I went to, you know, we're just competing to see who can be saddest. It's silly. Let's just all do our best and get on and leave class back in the 19th and 20th centuries where it belongs.
Yeah, because actually, in this country, in America, President Trump has rode back on these DEI protected characteristics. He's literally ripped up departments which were to protect characteristics, whilst we in the UK typically going the other way. Right, thank you all so much. More to come in the next hour after the weather.
Today, clouds overhead, total zen within. Boxed Solar sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello there and welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. After a pretty damp and grey weekend, that theme is going to continue into the new week. It will turn very wet and windy as we reach Tuesday as well. But for Monday at least, it will be a mostly dry picture, albeit a cloudy one for much of England and Wales. We do have this band of rain moving in towards Northern Ireland and southwest England, where we do have the first of our yellow rain warnings coming in towards Northern Ireland, so expect some disruption here. We do have some snow showers across Scotland as well, but on the whole, temperatures around the seasonal average, around 6 or 7 degrees for what we would expect for the end of January. Now, as we go through Monday evening, you'll notice we do have a second weather warning across the southwest of England and South Wales. So again, heavy rain expected here, maybe 30 to 40 millimetres of rain possible across these parts. Drier towards the east, but still clinging on to that cloud, and that rain will slowly move off from Northern Ireland, and we will continue to see these wintry showers across Scotland. Much of that snow just falling on higher hills. The showers elsewhere will be falling as rain in that southeasterly breeze. But as we go through the evening on Monday, notice this area of heavier rain moving up from the English Channel. That's going to introduce some widespread heavy rain, and we do have a second yellow rain warning across the southeast. But for everywhere on Tuesday morning, it's going to be a very wet start to the day. Temperatures-wise, not that cold, around the mid-single figures to begin with. But these winds, especially across the southwest and through the Irish Sea, they are also going to be very strong, 40 to 50, maybe even 60 miles per hour across those exposed coastlines. That rain will continue to move its way northwards. It does turn to snow as it does reach the higher hills of the Pennines and across Scotland, and we do see some clearer breaks across central England. But otherwise, those showers, especially across Wales and the southwest, will continue. But warmer temperatures across the south, around 10 degrees.
Today, clouds overhead, total zen within. Boxed Solar sponsors the weather on GB News.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
No,
isn't it?
no,
Because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back,
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
and we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akweer, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, though.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster, the ultimate clique.
And you're fighting like rats in a sack.
But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask.
OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician.
Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off limits.
You had the power then.
Yeah, as I
and
say,
now you've lost it.
That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless.
But no, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show.
Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Dordme, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I'm Tom Harwood. This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
Very good evening. Thank you for joining us live from Washington, D.C. This is GB News with the stories shaping Britain and America.
This individual who came with weapons and ammunition to stop a law enforcement operation of federal law enforcement officers committed an act of domestic terrorism. That's the facts.
Biggest story in America since Kristi Noem was talking yesterday, the fallout following the shooting of that nurse, Alex Pretty, allegedly shot dead by ICE officials. Just moments ago, President Trump posted about it online, laying the blame with the Democrats. We'll have all the reaction and analysis with some top guests. Back in the UK, though, is the World Health Organization about to be replaced by a British version, championed by none other than Nigel Farage? I'm going to be joined by someone who is looking to do exactly that, also tonight. I can report here in DC, 6 inches of snow, and 6 inches is enough for a bit of fun. The other biggest story here is, of course, the weather. Storm Fern. Americans have been told stay at home. Some locals today, though, were making the most of it. I went out to meet them earlier, and we'll show you that film in a little while. I'm Bev Turner. This is The Late Show Live. Remember, no breaks this hour. And people who have braved the snow to get here this evening, trust me, you could not have got here in a car or public transport. The only way to get here tonight has been on foot. So I'm delighted to say Senior Border Security and Immigration Specialist Simon Hankinson made that journey, and also broadcaster and journalist Angelina McAhey. Big softy in the studio in London, Paul Cox, who no doubt got taken there in his chauffeur-driven limousine.
Correct.
Right, let's remind you of the breaking news. This evening, of course, it's this Minneapolis shooting. And in the last few minutes, the Wall Street Journal has published an interview with President Trump saying that his administration is reviewing everything and will come out with a determination, which is, let's admit, measured by his standards. That's about this fatal shooting. He's also signalled a willingness to eventually withdraw immigration enforcement officials from the Minneapolis area. He said at some point, we will leave. We have done, they have done a phenomenal job. We'll leave a different group of people there for the financial fraud. So let me talk to my panel about this. We started the show, guys, talking about this topic. We now know that the president has done an interview with the Wall Street, is it Wall Street Journal? Wall Street Journal, just in the last few moments we're hearing about this. It does sound more measured, I think, Simon, saying that we will have a full investigation into this. Unfortunately, people like Tim Waltz has said, we won't listen to the investigation, we're not going to trust you and believe you about it anyway. This is eminently politicised every which way you look.
Yeah, I mean, you have to keep your eye on the strategy here as well as the tactics. The tactics are, you know, the activists go out, they yell in the faces of ICE officers, they try to block their cars, they try to stop the operations and try to provoke violence so that they can have moments like this, unfortunately, disasters like this unfold. But the strategy here is that the Democratic Party, by and large, and Governor Waltz and Mayor Frey do not want immigration enforcement to take place in the interior of the country, period. Not just gangsters and murderers and rapists, but anybody at all. They do not want anyone deported. And so this is a huge battle being fought on the public relations field to see whether President Trump will be able to carry his way or whether these guys will get him to basically nullify immigration law in their states.
Angelina, it's an interesting perception that I think, it's an interesting take on it, the idea that the crowds are there causing a problem, making more noise, making more disruption, hoping that somebody gets injured so that it does blow back on President Trump. Is that what's happening here?
I don't think anyone's out there looking to get injured. No one wants people actively harmed. You know, again, I think we really do need to evaluate Kristi Noem and her capabilities and how she can uphold the First Amendment and how she can also keep police officers safe at the same time. Look, there was a congressional hearing December 12th to address this exact issue about how do we keep police officers safe and protect the First Amendment and allow people to protest and voice their opinions at the same time. And Kristi Noem left that meeting early because she didn't feel it was necessary to have those kind of conversations. So we need to look at our leadership. We need to hold them accountable. And that's just something she's not doing. She's being completely negligent in her position.
I think, Paul, that it casts Donald Trump in a really difficult position, this, because he has been elected to cure the illegal migration problem, to solve it. But this is now at his door. There is a perception, whether it's right or wrong, that these are his foot soldiers on the streets, and everything they do, it is literally him pulling the trigger. And then the communications come out from the White House that don't help in a sense. Yes, they back their troops, they back their men, but they seem to claim ownership of it. I wonder whether we're going to see a slightly different take this time around, though, Paul.
I think maybe the tone changes slightly because of the death of this man. However, let's take a few steps back, right? Not just to calm the rhetoric down, but to understand how we got to this point. Under Obama, Homan was given an award for removing over 900,000 illegal aliens from the US, large amounts of them before they even got, into the country, admittedly. Now he's the Nazis personified for removing less than 300. This is party political, as we would call it in the UK. What Donald Trump is doing, what the Democrats and the protesters are doing here is hating on Trump. He could be doing anything at this point. Of course, I mean, it's not conspiratorial to say it benefits the Democrats to have as many immigrants and illegal immigrants in the country as possible, because they have always supported them in recent history, and therefore they would want them to remain in place to vote for them in the future. However, one thing I would say is the only people doing a job there are the ICE officers. The ICE officers are paid and instructed to be there. The protesters are putting themselves in harm's way, from what I've seen. Now, I'm happy to be proven wrong on this, but they're not standing just on the sidewalk. They're actively getting involved in the ICE officers' work. And that, for me, is a recipe for disaster. And by the way, there are people who do want people to get harmed. There is such a thing as martyrdom, and we have seen it from the left, for sure.
Yeah, very much so. Paul, let's talk about this big story that's on the front pages of all the papers tomorrow. Labour in revolt over Burnham stitch-up, say the Daily Telegraph. Starmer triggers Labour civil war after blocking Burnham return, says the Eye. Crash and Burnham, says the Sun. As always, the Sun with a brilliant headline. Blocking Andy ignites a Labour civil war. What's your take on this, Paul? Because it's pretty obvious, isn't it, that he's been told you can't stand now because you'll be waiting in the wings, you'll be there as an MP and you can challenge me for the leadership of the party. It's just such a... It's so selfish. They're protecting Starmer, aren't they?
Well, it shows incredible weakness, doesn't it? It's not the sort of weakness you'd ever see from someone like Donald Trump, I don't believe. I mean, I'm sure that Donald Trump has an ego. In fact, I know he does. But I think you wouldn't see this level of weakness from him. Look, Andy Burnham's not my choice for an MP or as a PM. He's even further left, as far as I can tell, than Keir Starmer is. And Keir Starmer is absolutely disastrous. But he has shown incredible weakness and cowardice, I would say, in not allowing him to stand. Now, I know there's the argument that's legitimate, that it could be a distraction, and Andy Burnham's doing a great job in Manchester as the mayor. However, this is the path he wants to take, and many in the party want him to take it. So if it's a wide and fair party, they should allow him in. And if Keir Starmer was a strong leader, which we obviously know he's not, if he was a strong leader, he'd allow him to run. And if he got in as MP, he'd bring him into his cabinet, put his arm around him and say, I know you want my job, but you're not having it, but let's work together. This is not happening under Keir Starmer. Keir Starmer doesn't know what direction he's going in.
It does smack of a sort of insecurity, and it's interesting when you say that, Paul, what would President Trump have done? Simon, I kind of would think if Trump was going to block somebody that was waiting to take some sort of chess move action to get him out of the White House and get his job, I think he'd just be really honest about it and say, you know, you're not having my job, I'm not letting you do that now. I think he'd have the backbone to just be completely upfront. Which is one thing he does, is tackle the elephant in the room every single time, even if you don't like it, that's what he does. And I think that what Starmer's done here is just not tackle the elephant in the room, hasn't he, Simon?
Yeah, no, Trump would do it right in your face. But honestly, what are they fighting over? It's like fighting to be the captain of the Lusitania. Good luck to him. I watched Burnham with the sound off, and he seemed to have more charisma than Starmer with the sound on. So maybe he is a threat, and maybe this is a smart move.
Yeah. Angelina, I imagine you're probably not that familiar with the Mayor of Manchester, Andy Burnham. But the comparison stands, doesn't it? If you have a leader of a country in Keir Starmer who is bombing in the polls, he's deeply unpopular, and there's somebody waiting nearby who is fairly popular, but he cannot, the point is he cannot challenge him at all because he's not an MP, he's only a mayor. But there's a by-election coming up, so there's a seat that he could take, and that would take him from being a mayor and it would make him an MP, and it means he'd be ready and waiting in the wings if that opportunity were to arise. What would President Trump do in this situation if he was as unpopular and somebody was snapping at his heels?
Probably get Elon Musk to fund an opposition candidate. That's usually his tactic.
Really? You think
yeah, I think so. Call someone, say, hey, let's gerrymander some districts, and then maybe Keir Starmer, again, that's what Gavin Newsom did. They gerrymandered some other districts to counter that. So, I mean, like, we're seeing this happen in the midterms right now. The Republicans are scared of the midterms, and they're scared that power is going to switch into the Democrats. And so you're already seeing this type of political action happening. Elon Musk did just fund, I'm trying to remember what, some Republican, it was in Tennessee, I believe. He just gave $10 billion to back a candidate there. So yeah, we're seeing this type of stuff happen. Also, you saw how much money Elon Musk threw behind Trump's campaign before. So,
and it feels like these two premierships are flying by. I know that Trump has only just served 1 year in office, but I get the sense that there are already people in this town they're already getting an eye on what's going to happen. We know they are in the next election here in America, and it's the same in the UK, Paul. I mean, I find it astonishing to believe that Starmer's been there for 18 months, if not, a little bit more now, not least because he doesn't seem to have done anything and nothing's changed. Can you get on with it? Do something, please.
Well, what's remarkable is obviously they're harking back to the 14 years of conservatism under the Tories and saying how bad that was. But they're forgetting to mention they spent the whole of that 14 years observing. If I'd watched something that I was ideologically opposed to for 14 years, I'd be pretty sure that I'd be ready to do some actual action if I got into power. It's not all about, oh, it's so difficult to undo the things that you need to undo. The blob, the civil service, are on the side of Labour. They're all left-wing zealots. It should be quite easy. They should be able to get in, but unfortunately they don't have a single policy that breaks through. And every time they fly things up the flagpole and it doesn't work, so they fly it back down again. And it costs money every time they do it. We just end up in this constant U-turning ridiculousness. And all the while, the country is a bin fire. An absolute bin. I don't know what the people in the US make of us, but, you know, this once great old country is quite an embarrassing mess at the moment.
Simon, you know British politics well. You actually were born in the UK, were you?
I was, yeah.
Yeah. Do you think we're a bin fire? Is that what you think when you look across at the UK, that there is no hope? And actually, maybe part of it is the fact that we've got this massive civil servant community, this blob, as we call them, whereas actually in this city, Donald Trump he said he was going to drain the swamp in his first term. He had no chance. He didn't know what he was doing. This time round, he's pulled the plug out, and it does feel like the swamp is draining. Is that the only way to get stuff done?
It is easier to turn the ship around in some ways in the U.S., but in Britain you've got parliamentary supremacy. You can pass laws, you can do things. You don't have the Senate fighting the House, and then the President with the veto, and then the Supreme Court. I look at Britain today, and frankly, I'm a little depressed. I mean, freedom of speech was not an issue when I left in '94 for the last time. Mass migration. I wonder if you surveyed people in London, would they say that it had been a net positive for the country? The economy. The British had par with the U.S. in terms of income not so long ago, but today are falling behind, and that's due to bad economic policies. So I would love to see a turnaround, and I certainly haven't seen it in the last 15 years.
Well, you can answer that, Paul. Do most people in the UK, the majority of people, think that mass migration has been a net positive?
No, I don't think they do. And I think quietly a lot of people that you would assume actually do no longer do either. And it's not just because we've got 24... People say it's because we've got 24-hour rolling news now. And I say this talking at 1 a.m. in the morning on a news channel, which I absolutely love, by the way. Thank you very much, Angelo. But one thing I would say is people genuinely are seeing the downside of it now. They're feeling the effect. They can't see their NHS doctor. The services that supply their communities are failing. Rubbish is piling up. There's detritus in our in our beauty spots. And we have just got to a point now where we're starting to have genuine nostalgia for the way life was. I mean, Simon talked about 1994. When he said 1994, I was like, what a year that was. I was only 14, but what a year that was. The 1990s felt genuinely good. Genuinely, good is the right word. It's not that I'm lost for words. It felt like a good time where there was the right ratio in terms of cultural change. The services worked. The last time I was an asthmatic child, I was talking to, I'm still asthmatic now, but I was asthmatic as a child. A doctor would visit me at 2 a.m. in my home, and I would have had that doctor since I was 6 months old, maybe even since my mum was pregnant with me. That is not something that exists anymore. We don't have that level of service anymore.
No. No, very good point, very good point. Right, so let's move on, folks, because we just want to go back to the weather here in Washington, D.C. It is the biggest story, really, in America at the moment. All the news sites are just leading with lots of people talking about this phenomenal storm, Fern. So I went down to Capitol Hill here in Washington, D.C. to join in some of the fun. This is Constitution Avenue at Capitol Hill. This would normally, on a Sunday afternoon, have cars going up and down it, people going to restaurants, out for lunch. There are just a few brave souls in very big vehicles, and also the snowplows doing their best up and down here. This storm has hit America in a way that we knew was going to happen, but I think it's worse than people imagined. 10,000 flights have now been cancelled in this area. There are power outages. There are obviously, everybody's being told to stay at home and don't come out unless you absolutely have to. It's incredible to see as a Brit. We never see weather anything like this. Lots of disruption, but some people are making the most of it. How cool is this?
This is awesome. I love this. I mean, I'm from Brazil. I don't see snow all the time, so this is just perfect.
We're very excited for the snow.
And you woke up this morning and went, yes, we're going out.
Exactly, yeah. We're excited to sled. Yeah, we've been planning all week to come and do this.
So some people like us Brits are just not dressed for this occasion. We've completely underestimated the weather. You look amazing. This is your full ski gear.
Yeah, and it says Canadian team because I'm Canadian. But I came from Vermont, so I'm prepared for the snow.
How much fun is this? It's great, isn't it?
It's incredible.
I love it. It's great. I'm going to have a go on your sledge in a minute. I would love to.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, go to Washington, they said. Be a hard-hitting news journalist, they said. I'm going to put this... Here we go. I like the fact that you're just making use of whatever you've got. So there's a little bodyboard here. Now I can surf. I can surf better than I can sledge, I think it's fair to say. Okay, Eleanor, hold my beer. There's been a lot of speculation about how much snow fell in the night in Washington. Some people said 5, some people said 12 inches. There's only one way to find out. Very scientific analysis with our bright pink ruler. So we found a bit of snow that hasn't been disturbed. So here we go. I can report here in DC, 6 inches of snow. And 6 inches is enough for a bit of fun. There's something lovely about being in the shadow of Capitol Hill, where important decisions are made, where serious conversations are had. That today, it's just about fun. There's no health and safety. Just come out here in the fresh air, get some exercise, and have a bit of good old-fashioned sledging fun. Brilliant. I love it. Yeah, it was a really amazing day out there. The conditions are just drastically bad. They are brutal right outside the door where we're sat now. Let's go to AccuWeather senior meteorologist Chad Merrill to find out how long this is going to last. Chad, so first of all, did Storm Fern meet expectations? Was it pretty much what you expected? And what happens now? Will it freeze? Will it melt? What's next?
Yeah, so this storm was as expected, a little bit farther north as we went through time. The storm progressed farther north. It had a wide range of impacts from snow to ice from the southern plains all the way into New England. And as we speak now, we are still getting freezing rain across the Carolinas. We are still getting sleet and snow just east of Washington, up through Philadelphia into the Boston area. But that will be heading off the coast later tonight, not before we get 8 to 12 inches of snow, with the upper end 10 to 12 inches in New York City. And most of the roads are completely snow covered all across much of the mid-Atlantic, the interior parts, and also the coastal sections. What happens next is that we get some very cold air that comes in and rushes in behind the storm system. Temperatures anywhere from 15 to 30 degrees below average. So the travel problems will continue to linger all the way through most of next week. We are going into the ice box across the east, and that's going to ensure more travel delays, more airport delays, and also more power outages where we've had anywhere from 1/4 of an inch to an inch of freezing rain or ice accretion from the lower parts of the Mississippi Valley into parts of the Carolinas. So the recovery efforts for this storm is going to take quite a while because of the cold air coming in behind it.
I've also heard, though, Chad, that I've heard that it's going to be quite sunny in DC tomorrow, quite a bright day. Does that mean that the snow will start to melt, though? Presumably not, if we've got this cold air coming in behind.
Yeah, so what's going to happen is, the sun will break out a bit, and on some of the paved surfaces, we will see some melting occur. That is exactly right. We'll have the wind chills to deal with, though. But the problem is anything that melts during the day is going to refreeze at night because temperatures will fall back into the single digits to the lower teens at night. So we're going to get that melting and refreeze cycle that continues all the way through the end of the week because there's so much moisture bottled up with the storm. We've had anywhere from a total of 1 to 2 inches of liquid equivalent of snow, sleet, and freezing rain. So it's not going to dry up or melt in a hurry.
Gosh, and then more snow, Chad, as well here in Washington. Do you think we're expecting more snowfall?
So we do have a couple of fronts that will come through this week and bring a couple of snow showers in the Great Lakes and maybe 1 or 2 flurries along the I-95 corridor. We are keeping our eye on a potential coastal storm next weekend, something we are following, and that would be next weekend into the early part of February. So that's the next big potential for any snowfall across the east, but we'll continue to follow that trend. But during the week, mostly dry, just a couple of flurries. The greatest accumulation, though, will be across the Great Lakes into parts of New England.
OK, fantastic. Thank you, Chad. No, that was fantastic. Chad Merrill there, AccuWeather Senior Meteorologist. Brilliant. Let me ask you two then, as natives here, Angelina, when the weather turns like this, how much do you prepare? What do you buy at home? Like, where do you know that life is going to get quite tricky and logistically difficult?
This happened during COVID too, and every big storm, the first thing people go for is toilet paper.
Yeah.
And that confuses me so much because, like, how much toilet paper do you need?
Maybe they're very nervous.
Yeah, it's going to be 3 days. Like, how often are you going to the bathroom? That's like the one product I didn't. I had 5 rolls at home. Why do I need to buy 10 more? Like, I just don't understand the American obsession with whenever there's something happening in the world or extreme weather, they panic and they buy all the toilet paper.
Because I noticed that all the restaurants are just closed today. Now, okay, it was a Sunday anyway, but all the bars, all the restaurants closed. Simon, are they covered for insurance for that? Because if these premises, these businesses are closed for possibly 4 or 5 days this week, how do they survive with that?
I doubt they have insurance for that, but the workers can't get in. A lot of the people who work in these restaurants in central DC commute from 20, 30 miles away, and the roads just are not passable. I had fun watching out my window, cars spinning and people trying with 2-wheel drive cars. So I bet they'll be back in business by tomorrow, Tuesday at the latest. The last time we had a big dump like this back in 2010, 2 feet of snow, we were out for maybe 3 days. So I don't think it'll be that bad.
God, it's extraordinary, isn't it, though? I mean, in terms of travel, Angelina, do you just all say, right, we've got to clear the diary, we're not going to be able to get anywhere?
I mean, that's exactly how DC responds for it, and that's how our emergency preparedness responds for it, right? As I said earlier, DC's not Boston, we're not Chicago. We don't face these type of storms on a regular basis. Maybe we get a one-off big snowstorm every year, but even then it's typically closer to spring and it melts right away. This is a very unique ice storm. It's ice falling that it's compiling and it looks like snow. So they originally actually had a big snowball fight planned, but they canceled that in DC too because the snow is ice, so it will hurt people, be a bit more harmful. So it's great for slipping and sledding around, but of course it can be harmful in those ways as well. So the approach is just let's wait it out until it clears, and they'll manage it once the snow stops falling.
See, one of our plans today was to make a snowman and then use the end of my GBNews mic as its nose and make a GBNews snowman. But you're right, we couldn't actually get the snow to pack because it is little tiny ice particles in a sense, which if you were walking around without your umbrella, hitting in the face is quite painful today. It really isn't like anything that as a Brit I've ever experienced, and I was being all sort of insouciant about it. It'll be fine. I'm not going to need snow boots. It'll be fine. Well, I felt like an idiot today because I did manage to put multiple layers on and stay relatively warm and dry, but I was very jealous of my colleague Eleanor, who'd been out and bought herself some special snow boots, which I've been taking the mickey for her all week, saying you're not going to need those. Well, guess what she did, and she was perfectly prepared for today. Paul Cox in London, when you see these scenes here in America, do you think oh, we're lucky to live in a country that doesn't get extreme weather like that? Or do you think, oh, that would be quite fun going down on a sledge in a park in the centre of London?
A bit of both, really. I mean, I'm quite glad we don't get some of the other weather phenomenons that you have in the States. But snow, listening to you guys talk, the one thing about snow is it's beautiful for a start. Also, it makes us stop. So today you've stopped, and the whole hubbub of rushing about, you've stopped. Snow's quiet as well. When you wake up in the morning in your apartment and it's snowed, it's quiet around. And I think there's something magical about snow. It sort of makes you reflect. Yeah. You can't do everything you were planning to do. You can't go to the bar or whatever. It's inconvenient. Hopefully you've got enough loo roll. Yeah. But it does make you stop, slow down and think. And I think I enjoy it for that purpose. And if it's 2 or 3 days, then I think just enjoy it.
Yeah. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I mean, you know how much I hated lockdowns, Paul, you and I both, but actually, when nature serves you with a reason to just hunker down, put the fire on, watch a bit of GB News and have a bottle of wine, that's heaven for me. So exactly. I have been making the most of it, obviously, working very hard for GB News. Still to come this evening on The Late Show Live, Daredevil Alex Honnold scaled a 101-storey tower in Taiwan without ropes. It was streamed live on a channel. I will tell you why I am absolutely furious about this next. Don't go anywhere. This is The Late Show Live, only on GB News.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boiler sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello there, and welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. After a pretty damp and grey weekend, that theme is going to continue into the new week. It will turn very wet and windy as we reach Tuesday as well. But for Monday at least, it will be a mostly dry picture, albeit a cloudy one for much of England and Wales. We do have this band of rain moving in towards Northern Ireland and southwest England, where we do have the first of our yellow rain warnings coming in towards Northern Ireland, so expect some disruption here. We do have some snow showers across Scotland as well, but on the whole, temperatures around the seasonal average, around 6 or 7 degrees for what we would expect for the end of January. Now, as we go through Monday evening, you'll notice we do have a second weather warning across the southwest of England and South Wales. So again, heavy rain expected here, maybe 30 to 40 millimetres of rain possible across these parts. Drier towards the east, but still clinging on to that cloud, and that rain will slowly move off from Northern Ireland, and we will continue to see these wintry showers across Scotland. Much of that snow just falling on higher hills. The showers elsewhere will be falling as rain in that southeasterly breeze. But as we go through the evening on Monday, notice this area of heavier rain moving up from the English Channel. That's going to introduce some widespread heavy rain, and we do have a second yellow rain warning across the southeast. But for everywhere on Tuesday morning, it's going to be a very wet start to the day. Temperatures-wise, not that cold, around the mid-single figures to begin with. But these winds, especially across the southwest and through the Irish Sea, they are also going to be very strong, 40 to 50, maybe even 60 miles per hour across those exposed coastlines. That rain will continue to move its way northwards. It does turn to snow as it does reach the higher hills of the Pennines and across Scotland, and we do see some clearer breaks across central England. But otherwise, those showers, especially across Wales and the southwest, will continue. But warmer temperatures across the south, around 10 degrees.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boiler sponsors the weather on GB News.
Earlier this week, you may have seen this huge story. This is about America officially withdrawing from the World Health Organization. That was following an executive order signed by President Trump last year. Well, they worked out that notice period and then they said, we are off. The president has repeatedly criticised the organization's handling of the COVID-19 pandemic. Bobby Kennedy has been driving this, and he has refused to adopt the International Pandemic Treaty.
Withdrawing from the World Health Organization, sir?
Ooh, that's a big one. So we paid $500 million to World Health when I was here, and I terminated it. China with 1.4 billion people. We have 350. Nobody knows what we have because so many people came in illegally. But let's say we have 325. They had 1.4 billion. They were paying 39 million. We were paying 500 million. It seemed a little unfair to me.
Whereas here or there in the UK, Labour invested up to £310 million in core funds to support the World Health Organisation's general programme of work and its transformation agenda. But is it now time for the UK to follow suit and withdraw as well? Well, somebody that thinks yes is the co-founder of Action on World Health, David Roach, who joins me now. David, thank you so much for staying up to talk to us on The Late Show Live. So why did the World Health Organization have to divorce from America, and why should we do the same?
Well, one of the big things is obviously the pandemic response, which President Trump, of course, was hugely angry about for his first term in office. But it's the huge amount of corruption within the WHO as well. Now that the US has left, Bill Gates now becomes the largest funder of the WHO. The second largest funder is an organization called Gavi. It's the Vaccine Alliance. You've got other billionaires funding it as well, like Michael Bloomberg, the Clintons, as well as Big Pharma, of course, which chucks in a huge amount of money. It's well over a quarter now of its funding is coming from wealthy billionaires or private corporate interests. So it's kind of been captured. You then throw in the influence of China, which particularly angers President Trump. You then throw in the fact that it's been captured by the wokerati. So it's become a kind of left-wing campaign group. It campaigns for things like equal access to healthcare for immigrants, sex education for kids under the age of 4 years old. It's also been concerned with teaching transgenderism in schools, increasing taxes in order to raise money for health, which it wants to consume as well. So pull these things together. It's entirely against President Trump's health agenda, also his geopolitical agenda. So yeah, he had no option really but to leave it.
And what about the UK then and your organisation, Action on World Health, David? How would you be different and who is helping you to become established?
Well, we co-founded this with Nigel Farage in the United Kingdom, and we launched a major review just over a year ago now of WHO, former UN experts, bunch of clinicians, scientists, treaty lawyer experts who could tell us how we ought to approach the WHO differently, either through radical reform, which I think of the WHO, that's going to be incredibly difficult, or how you could replace it with an entirely new organization altogether. And that's the bit which particularly interests me, because some of the overtures that we're hearing from the US administration, I'm sure you hear this from your conversations in Washington as well, is they think that we could see a new body set up to replace the WHO, which is led by the United States.
And David, how would you be impervious to the corruption, which is always a potential with an organisation? So if Action on World Health is established and it starts to rival the World Health Organization, you're going to have the drug companies knocking on your door. You're going to have the vaccine companies saying, oh, you know what, we'll give you several million. And then before you know it, David, you are just as bad as your predecessor. How do you stop that happening?
Well, look, just to be clear, it wouldn't necessarily be us, but we would provide the intel and the formula for creating a new body. So I think you have to have an absolute red line on this. You have to say no more conflicts of interest, no more funding from Big Pharma. You're entirely funded only by member states. Because WHO says it's supposed to be led by member states, but I think it's pretty clear that's not what's happening at the moment. That probably hasn't been happening for the last 3 decades. It has its own agenda, particularly on things like the pandemic preparedness stuff. You look at something called the Essentials Medicines List, and if I'd encourage some of your viewers to go away and just do a quick Google search for 5 minutes and look at what the Essentials Medicines List is. It contains all the drugs that the WHO approves of and says that are safe for people to use. It's supposed to give people confidence, right? But if the very people that are taking those drugs, manufacturing them, bringing them to market and selling them are the very same pharmaceutical companies that are actually funding the WHO, therein lies a massive problem. And you've seen examples, for the last few years, the WHO said you can't trust where you should be very wary of things like fat shots or fat jabs. And yet we've seen that it's changed its attitude over the last few years. And I just asked the question, with Novo Nordisk producing Ozempic, what changed there? Novo Nordisk funds the WHO. What changed there? So these are the kind of things that we have to stamp out.
Yeah. Well, it's a very interesting topic. I love the fact that you're raising awareness of these sorts of captured organisations. So thank you so much, David Roach there, co-founder of Action on World Health. Right, moving on now. What are we going to now? Oh, let's have a look at the paper. Let's have a look at what's on the front pages in the UK. Let's have a look. The Telegraph is Labour in revolt over Burnham stitch-up. This is a rather unflattering picture of Andy Burnham. I don't think he'd be thrilled with that. But obviously, he is now in a very bad mood about the fact that he's not being allowed to stand as an MP in this by-election in the northwest of England. The Metro, Burnham bid for comeback thwarted by wary Starmer. Keir Starmer must have known this was going to reflect badly on him in some way, surely. The Independent, Starmer risks Labour civil war by blocking Burnham's return, and also there the picture of, they say, family of man shot by agents in Minneapolis denounce the sickening lies of Trump officials. The Guardian, interestingly, also leading on Labour faces risk of party civil war after the Prime Minister blocks Burnham's return. And The Sun, Crash and Burnham. Brilliant headline. Blocking Andy ignites a Labour civil war. The iPaper, Starmer triggering Labour civil war after blocking Burnham return. They say, and The Times, Labour MPs revolt over blocking Burnham. Andy Burnham will no doubt be thrilled, actually, with these front pages. There's a picture of him, interestingly, with his mum. Is the picture that he chose to make sure was taken yesterday. Labour MPs revolt over blocking of Burnham, say The Times. And it's interesting that he's pictured with his mother, because he will know that a lot of the Reform voters tend to be the slightly older demographic. What is he telling us in that picture there? I like old people. I like my mum. The Daily Mail, lame duck Starmer has only hastened his demise, they say, and also running still with a picture of Victoria Beckham with Emma Bunton as well there. Oh, the Mirror, should we keep going? Strong Storm tactics, more of the same. They're, of course, casting this as complimentary to the Prime Minister. They're saying this is Starmer being strong in his position here by blocking Andy Burnham. I think a lot of you at home would disagree. And the Daily Express are saying Labour war as Starmer blocks Burnham bid to be MP. Right, let's talk to my panel here, because I really want us to cover this story. That this is, if you've got vertigo, you might want to look away now, because the American rock climber Alex Honnold has stunned crowds in Taiwan after he climbed one of Asia's tallest skyscrapers without, ladies and gentlemen, ropes, a safety net or harnesses, and it was broadcast live on Netflix. Have a look.
He's done it! Alex Honnold has made history again.
So there they are, all cheering him. He's 40 years old. He was made famous by a documentary, Free Solo, which, if you haven't seen it, you should watch it. It is incredible. He scaled the 508-metre Taipei 101. He pulled himself up using exposed steel beams, hundreds of metres above the ground. It took 91 minutes to climb that. And Honnold says he wanted to inspire people to chase their own challenges, because, in his words, time is finite. Paul Cox, I hate everything about this story, because it sets such a terrible example to teenage boys with undeveloped frontal lobes to go climbing up buildings that they will fall off and kill themselves. What do you think?
I can actually tell you genuinely really dislike this as well, Bev. And do you know what? I think you're right. I could just tell, and I think it comes from being a mother, and I know you've got daughters, but be a woman as well, and being around men and knowing that their frontal lobes don't develop till they're about 57, and the fact that the whole thing's a bit of a nonsense in the fact that don't go chasing all your ambitions. You can't achieve them all, by the way. We need to start teaching people that actually choose a couple, make sure it's not climbing buildings for a start, and you're not going to be the president, and you're probably not going to be the emperor of the world, although Trump's making a good job of it. I would say that, you know, long story short, it's probably not great to have this live on what if he'd fallen? What if he'd fallen?
Well, the thing is, if he'd fallen, then at least he would have told millions of young boys out there, if you climb up buildings, you might actually kill yourself. I mean, I'm glad he didn't fall, don't get me wrong, but I could have seen a silver lining to that particular story. Angelina, there used to be a time when we didn't show dangerous things on TV without a warning that would say, don't try this at home. And now, for this generation who want to broadcast every challenging moment of their life to get clicks and likes, we're telling them, go and climb a building. Is it just me? Is it a generational thing, Angelina?
I mean, this guy is like 40, right? So he's a bit older, but I mean, like my parents used to say to me, just like I would say, you know, I want to do something, so-and-so's doing it. They'd be like, well, if so-and-so jumped off a bridge, would you do it too? There's a bit of common sense that needs to be parented into children there as well. Personally, I don't understand it. I mean, I don't understand the desire to go into space. I don't understand the desire to go into a submarine and go into the depths of the ocean. I think that God created us as land creatures. He created gravity, and that we should stay in places that don't test God.
Simon, is it about testing God, or is it about testing what the public will want to watch? Because as Paul says, people will have watched this. They're watching it because he might fall off, and that's frankly sick.
At the risk of getting chucked off the panel, look, I think this is great, and I don't think people should do it at home, and I don't think they start with, you know, 110-story building. I think they start with a 10-foot wall, and then they fall off and they hurt themselves, and only a very, very few people. There's like 10 guys in the world, and they're almost all guys who can do this. This guy is an expert at what he does, and he's inspiring to watch. Look, men went to the moon, men discovered the poles. You know, men do have this thing in them that makes them take incredible risks, but with amazing rewards if it's done right. And we have this culture of safetyism now that doesn't want kids to do anything dangerous or difficult. And I think this guy's inspirational, really.
Yeah, and I sort of love the fact that what you're advocating there is that we should be encouraging young people to take the risks and to fall out of a tree, maybe. But you know what? We've got a generation who were never climbed. They never climbed trees. Yeah. They never did it. So they think they are invincible. And so the first thing, they've never climbed a tree and fallen off and broken their wrist. So they've never learnt those parameters and those boundaries. But suddenly, we're showing them a guy on a building that's hundreds of meters in the air, 500 meters in the air, and saying, isn't he amazing? Literally, this is so brilliant. I think it's deeply irresponsible of Netflix, Simon, isn't it?
Well, maybe the lesson isn't so much that watching this guy is a mistake and it's irresponsible because kids, as you say, you know, they've been living in basements playing video games. The message should be, let's let our kids go out there and live a little. Let's let them go out and play on a playground that isn't rubberized so they bounce off it, and maybe occasionally break something, or, you know, lose a tooth or get into a fight and ride their bike, you know, down the hill a little bit too fast, so that, as you say, they can build up this resistance and know that what that guy does is crazy unless you're one of the top 5 in the world. And, you know, let's get kids outside.
Yeah, well, like I say, the documentary about it, Free Solo, is absolutely incredible. Like I literally got a bit of a sweat on watching it, because it is so terrifying that they're doing that. You will sit there going, this is human beings being incredible. I understand that, but I think it's the making it so populist and making it look like it's an entertainment, it's a spectacle. And actually the documentary goes into the hours of training, the years of practice to get to that point. And actually when they're doing those solo climbs on the mountains, they're not doing it for a camera. They're actually, the sense is they're doing it for their own personal satisfaction. I think my issue with this is partly that it's for the clicks and the likes and the applause. And that is very addictive, and that's very seductive to a generation of young boys with no frontal lobes. Anyway, right, let's move on. Glad I got that off my chest. The Telegraph is reporting that hundreds of thousands of graduates are claiming benefits amid a post-pandemic surge in people who say they are too sick to go to work, right? This is analysis of official data by the Centre for Social Justice, who do some fantastic work. And they've showed that there were 707,000 people with a university degree at the end of last year who were out of work and claiming one or more benefits. Now, that is up 46% compared to levels before lockdown. It's been driven by a doubling in the number of graduates who say they can't work because they've got a health condition, right? This is sick youngsters. The figure shows the number of degree holders who are not working for health reasons climbed from 117,000 in 2019 to 240,000 in 2025, representing an increase of more than 100%. And that means 1 in 3 graduates now cite a health reason for not working. Angelina, what's happened to all these young people that they're too ill to go to work when they've been to university?
I think what we're seeing here and what we're seeing now is that people are spending or have spent, this is my situation, I can speak on behalf of a lot of people who I know who are in similar situations, but we did spend a lot of money paying for our schools. I owe student loan money, and then what happens is when you graduate, we were told, my parents are of the Reagan era, we were told that once you graduate, you're going to hit certain milestones or strides in your salary, and there's going to be continuous lateral growth. That hasn't been true whatsoever. It's very stagnant, especially, salaries are just above just above minimum wage, or you're maybe a few $1,000s, making a few $1,000s too much to qualify for any social benefits such as SNAP, healthcare, transportation. And so I think what you're seeing is a lot of people just feeling hopeless, right? They're saying, why should I put all this money or effort or time into working when I could just not work, get some money, and relax a little bit?
Wow, Paul, is it that bleak?
Well, Angelina's lucky because she's a lot younger than me, and lucky, is that lucky? I don't think that's the right word. That sounded very patronising. What I mean is she's lucky that she's young, but unlucky that she was born and her friends were born during an era where there was a lot less hope. I'm 46 years old. I left school in the middle of the 90s. I graduated in 2000. I had opportunity and was able to grow. I would also say that a lot of people were forced, particularly after my generation, to go to university in Britain unnecessarily. They were sold the dream by Tony Blair and the Labour Party in the late 90s, early 2000s, and told the absolute pinnacle of everything is to have a university education. Because of the things that Angelina was talking about, because her parents' generation, that was true. It's no longer true. You've got hundreds of thousands of courses, hundreds of thousands of students, and thousands of jobs. It's difficult, and I think they're feeling a lot of despair.
Simon, is AI playing a part in this as well, though? You've got a young generation, especially the kids who've done, because I don't think it's a coincidence that they're graduates. These are white-collar jobs they wanted to go into. A lot of it, the laptop class, and AI is taking a lot of those jobs. What's the hope for them?
Well, yeah, AI is a big problem, but the other problem is that, after Tony Blair tried to push everybody into college, when I went to college, it was about 5% of the population went to university, rather. Now it's about, what, 30, 40, 50%? There's too many people being trained to do the wrong things is the problem. Not enough skilled trades and too many sort of general white-collar people who, as you say, whose jobs are going to be taken by AI. So we need to give these kids some hope by opening some new avenues to them to do the jobs that actually exist rather than the ones that they wanted to exist 20 years ago.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's really, it's one of the worst stats I've seen in the last 6 months. It's about young people. I want us, before we head out into the snowy weather here in Washington, before Paul Cox goes and gets in his limousine, I want to just show you some pictures of our walk into the studio tonight. So this is just to give you an idea what's going on outside that door. We're staying in a hotel, like I said, and this was our walk around the corner this evening. So what do you call these little things?
Snowblower.
What is it?
Snowblower.
Snowblower. Okay, it's a snowblower. Maybe I should have worked that out. This is me wearing my, I've got a shower cap. I've got my rollers on, and our makeup artist very cleverly put me in a shower cap to preserve my hair. But look at the vehicle. So it's only people who've got these massive trucks who were able to get through the roads. This guy had no luck. Look at him, there he is. He's stuck outside the hotel. He's obviously gone out, Simon, and thought, I can make that work. And then that's what happens. In an instant, you've slipped off the road, right?
Why go out? I mean, if you're going to the hospital, maybe if it's life or death, but otherwise, wait it out for 24 hours.
These people are obviously trying to dig their car out. Now, maybe they thought they were going to get a ticket if they left it there in the morning. And these incredible snow trucks, this is what you rely on, Angelina, isn't it, on a day like this?
Yeah, most definitely, but it's not doing enough still. Like, you go out there and the plows go by and the snow just keeps falling down. So yeah, definitely staying off the roads and taking public transit, because look at, as that car's stuck right there, that's exactly what's happening.
And the thing is, what you have to realise at home in the UK, when we left the studio this time last night, not an inch of snow. We walked back going, this is ridiculous, we're staying in a hotel, we could have got home tonight. Well, yeah, we could have got home, but there's no way we would have got into the studio today. The only way you can get around the city at the moment is actually on foot. I've been dodging snowblowers all day, because if you get in the way of one of those, you know about it, don't you? And of course, we did get a little told off today at Capitol Hill, because we were trying to do a piece to camera in the middle of the road, and a police officer came and said, don't stand there, like, get on the sidewalk, get on the sidewalk. We're like, well, we don't know where the sidewalk is, because as you can see, you can't actually see if you're going to walk off a curb or you're going to step into a grid. So when they say to you here in America, please don't go out, don't go out, you can actually understand why, because it is dangerous. And I was talking to somebody in my building who said the problem is, Bev, she said, it's a lot of transient population here in DC, so a lot of people haven't grown up in the snow. They don't know how to operate in the snow, so people do stupid things, she said, and that's when accidents happen. That's when the emergency services have to come out, because people, like you say, the guy in the car, they just don't know how to work in these conditions, do they?
No, I mean, up in New Hampshire, we have a place that every other guy has a plow on the front of their truck. So they make a few bucks on the weekend plowing you out of your driveway. People know how to drive. They have four-wheel drive. Down here, we get people coming up from Florida and states to the south where they just never get more than an inch of snow at most. And yeah, they think they can get through anything.
Yeah, and you get idiots like me from London who haven't got proper snow boots and go out in a shower cap. Paul Cox, looking at these pictures, your reaction?
Oh, it's lovely to look at it from here, actually. It does look quite majestic. I'd love to roll about in it, but I'm sure it's got its downsides. There'll be people slipping over and breaking legs. Hopefully people don't go out. Hopefully. By the way, can I just say, I hope all three of you get safely back to wherever you're going tonight. I am slightly worried, because that doesn't look great.
Well, we will be fine. I've left cameraman Ben with a very important job to make sure there is a chilled gin and tonic waiting for me when I walk through the hotel door in 20 minutes time or so. So you'll be pleased to know I've still got my priorities bang in order, Paul Cox. You'll be walking home tonight, Angelina, then?
Yes, I will, definitely. I mean, how else am I going to get home? So I'll be like Laura Ingalls Wilder facing the great prairies of DC.
I have every faith in you. Thank you, guys. Thank you so much for a great show. I'll be back tomorrow night on The Late Show Live, 7 o'clock here, midnight there. See you then.
Today, clouds overhead. Total zen within. Boxed Solar sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello there, and welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. After a pretty damp and grey weekend, that theme is going to continue into the new week. It will turn very wet and windy as we reach Tuesday as well. But for Monday at least, it will be a mostly dry picture, albeit a cloudy one for much of England and Wales. We do have this band of rain moving in towards Northern Ireland and southwest England, where we do have the first of our yellow rain warnings coming in towards Northern Ireland, so expect some disruption here. We do have some snow showers across Scotland as well, but on the whole, temperatures around the seasonal average, around 6 or 7 degrees for what we would expect for the end of January. Now, as we go through Monday evening, you'll notice we do have a second weather warning across the southwest of England and South Wales. So again, heavy rain expected here, maybe 30 to 40 millimetres of rain possible across these parts. Drier towards the east, but still clinging on to that cloud, and that rain will slowly move off from Northern Ireland, and we will continue to see these wintry showers across Scotland. Much of that snow just falling on higher hills. The showers elsewhere will be falling as rain in that southeasterly breeze. But as we go through the evening on Monday, notice this area of heavy rain moving up from the English Channel. That's going to introduce some widespread heavy rain, and we do have a second yellow rain warning across the southeast. But for everywhere on Tuesday morning, it's going to be a very wet start to the day. Temperatures-wise, not that cold, around the mid-single figures to begin with. But these winds, especially across the southwest and through the Irish Sea, they are also going to be very strong, 40 to 50, maybe even 60 miles per hour across those exposed coastlines. That rain will continue to move its way northwards. It does turn to snow as it does reach the higher hills of the Pennines and across Scotland, and we do see some clearer breaks across central England. But otherwise, those showers, especially across Wales and the southwest, will continue. But warmer temperatures across the south, around 10 degrees.
Today, clouds overhead, total zen within. Boxed Solar sponsors the weather on GB News.
I'm Andrew Pearce. This is GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk
No,
now?
that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact is Trump made a good start. No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up? About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
In the GB newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK, we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News, the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6